As we're designing instruments, I think that the biggest challenge is to actually make something feel like an acoustic instrument. Something that runs on zeros and ones inside of a metal box with knobs is very hard to translate into something that feels acoustic. We tend to use screens and LEDs and all sorts of things to overcome these challenges. So today I want to take a moment to talk about this challenge of creating electronic instruments that feel like acoustic ones. Let's get to it. Before we get started, I wanted to invite you all to join our community. This is an instrument that is at the moment in pre-release. This means that everybody who takes part of the pre-release can actually influence the design, the functionality, and the ins and outs of how we develop this. It's quite remarkable what we've achieved so far, and it is thanks to, first of all, Vlad Litvinenko, the designer, the engineer behind this, but also people from the community like Rosa, who just joined now, Alberto, and a bunch of people on Discord that are really participating in shaping this instrument into what it is and what it is going to become. So if you guys find this interesting, first of all, super nerds, hi, we're all in the same boat, so you should definitely join Discord, but also maybe consider getting one of these to join, support the project, and enjoy this really unique instrument that takes looping into a whole new territory. With this out of the way, let's talk about the design decisions that we've made here. I'm going to split this to two parts. First, we're going to talk about primary actions. In our case here, that would be recording a loop, playing a loop, manipulating, modulating the loop itself. And secondary actions. In our case, these would be effects, all using the same controls. So how do we reduce friction and make the instrument feel the most intuitive knobs and switches can actually feel? The first thing you'll notice when you turn on the unit is this welcome animation. You see the LEDs glowing from the outside into the center, and then the rings start glowing. The second thing we're going to notice is that the LEDs on the back here are actually oscillating up and down. And that indicates that the buffer is now empty, waiting for us to record something. We're going to record in a couple of seconds, but I wanted to show you first how this looks from the inside. These are the LEDs that we're getting from the manufacturer. And then what we do is we add, and there is a small video where I'm talking about the design of this, we add these baffles. That video gets a bit more technical, so if you guys are instrument designers, you should look it up. These baffles allow us to control how the LEDs are going to shine. So this solved a big challenge that we had earlier in the design process, that we realized that the LEDs shine super nicely inside, they really glow beautifully, but it's very hard to give accurate feedback. And if we're thinking about tangible physical instruments, this immediate feedback that we're receiving needs to actually be very accurate. I am feeling now that I'm touching the kalimba in different places based on the tension on each of them. So just like that, with the LEDs, I can articulate and give response to the user in precision because I have some baffles to control where the LED is going to shine through. And so let's reset. So I'm going to put the size all the way to the right. I'm going to put the position all the way to the left and the mix to the center. And you'll notice immediately that the mix knob gives me feedback. This feedback indicates how much of the input am I going to hear and how much of the signal recorded. So if I'll put it all the way to the right, I won't really hear any of my recording here, any of my input. But then I have a monitor that gives me feedback, an immediate feedback of what's coming in. If you have any suggestions for how to improve on this, wink wink, there are ways to improve on this. Try to comment below if you have ideas for how would this evolve in the next version. If you have ideas, suggestions, or maybe you already think about what I'm thinking to implement here, drop it in the comments below. Now, okay, so this is feedback for the mix. But let's see what happens when I start recording. So I'm going to just record maybe something here. I'm going to do Alt play, and now I'm armed. This, the universal sign for armed and expecting recording is blinking red LEDs. So now we have armed on deck B, and I'm just going to make some sound, and that is going to trigger the recording immediately because we have an amplitude detector in the code. So let's see. Cool. We have a recording. We can see immediately that there is an LED indicating that now the playhead is playing. But now let's see what happens when I pitch up. You can see how the playhead is moving now faster. We can go up to 2 octaves to the right. To the left, we can go to full stop. This mode is inspired by tape, by real tape. So it's actually a mono tape recording. It's called reel. Maybe a small thing, if we're going to move to slice mode, then you'll see that it's blue, and in drift mode, it's green. And yeah, I'm not going to go into all the detail of all these modes. You can explore them on your own. But what I thought is important to talk about here is that the playhead is actually moving faster and slower. And that is crucial because in a different mode, say slice, pitch is detached from time, which means that if I pitch it up, the speed is actually staying the same while the pitch is changing. Okay, so we have the playhead. There is also another thing that we should notice here. If I play reverse, obviously the playhead is going to go backwards. And then a fun thing to do is to play with modulation. So let's get the internal LFO from here and put it into, say, which one should we start with? Let's start with position. So I'm going to use a switch, move it up so it's now controlling position. I'm going to turn the attenuator here, and you'll see what happens. I'm now moving the playhead, moving the start point, the position of the playhead. I can also make the size smaller, then we'll start noticing it much more. So this is our size now. And this is the position of the playhead animating according to this sine wave LFO. Cool. I can also move to size, see what happens then. Let's make the size very short. And I can pitch it up. And I can also just change the pitch. Which I find just beautiful. It creates all these insect kind of sounds. And you can see how the playhead is now moving way faster, because with the LFO we can animate it, or actually with a keyboard or anything, we could actually connect it into the volt per octave input. And we really want to see what's going on. If this would be in slice mode, it would always move in the exact speed, and also the kind of textures that we're going to get from it are going to be different. It's very metallic and digital. That's why it's also blue. And I mean, you might think these are very, very small details, how important that is. But I think that these are the kind of things that bridge this gap between a metal box with some knobs into something that really feels like an instrument. I'm really seeing and hearing exactly the same thing. I'm getting a response to the gesture that I'm doing, and this allows for a better connection between the maker, the artist, and the device. Okay, let's get into the effects. Basically, the biggest challenge here is that we actually have a certain amount of knobs and switches and controls, touchpads, that need to be used for multiple things. That creates friction in the experience for a musician. Because if I now know that my knob is here, and then I turn something, and then all of a sudden the knob is in a different position, I'll explain in a second, then it gets really confusing. So for instance, let's say that I'm now going to turn on the distortion. I simply hold this pad, and now I see an LED indicator showing me the distortion running. I can change the mix. So the mix knob that I have for the signal input monitoring and the output is right here. And if I change my distortion, this will actually be used for the distortion. But note what happens. The distortion is orange. This is what we defined. And the loop is blue here, or if it would be in real mode, it would be yellow. Okay? But then what happens here is that when I turn the knob, I actually see a red part. And the red part comes to indicate that this knob is now in a different position than the value of mix for distortion. So if I get to here, then all of a sudden I have control over the gain of my distortion. I'll show you again. So I turn this, and let's say that I'm now turning this knob, but it tells me, hey, the distortion is actually here. This is the amount of distortion. So until the moment where I hit the end of the red part, it's going to tell me, I'm not changing the distortion for you now because you're not really in that value, and I don't want to jump into whatever value this is for the distortion. That's going to really break the sound. Therefore, if I get to here, then I can start messing around with it again. If I do it with a delay, then I have now the delay speed and speed right here. If I start turning the knob, you'll see that it actually gives me a red indicator. I can turn it all the way down, and from here, I can start changing the tape speed of the tape delay. Same thing for the mix. So this is the amount of mix of the delay into my signal, and then this is going to be my feedback amount. So this is going to self-oscillate now because I take it all the way, which is a lot of fun. And what I love about this, that I think turns it into a playground, is the fact that I can now jump between real mode that sounds so natural. I can pitch it super fast, move it to slice, get like 4 playheads playing at the same time. It's fucking crazy. And then add delay on it. With no latency, no nothing. Add distortion. Sorry, I get a bit lost. To wrap it up, what I'm trying to say here is that secondary functionalities can actually reduce or actually add friction into the experience. And to mitigate that, we can use LED feedback and responses of the position of the knob in comparison to the value it actually holds in such a way that will make it seamless. So our fingers could actually learn the behavior quickly and feel it rather than think about how something works. The best music instruments are actually the ones that allow you to build muscle memory very quickly, to not overload your brain with lots of complexities that are hard to remember. So, this was a glimpse into the design decisions that we've taken in the last couple of years to design Spotykach. We were super proud that this instrument now exists in the world, although it is a pre-release and it is very limited quantities that we can actually produce. The fact that we managed to make such a standalone hybrid modular looper synthesizer live sampler is quite an achievement. So if you want to join the pre-release, click the link below to join the community, and I will send you an email with the purchase link. And not only that you're going to get the unit in a couple of days, but you're also going to join the pre-release workspace, which is an online space where we all share different features and suggestions. And since this is an open source project, a lot of different people are working on improving and developing and refining and also creating alternative firmwares, which are super exciting. So if this sounds like just the thing for you, click the link below, grab one, and help us shape this instrument as it evolves. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.